I'd like to introduce Westminster football coach Chris Bassler. Coach, thanks for being with us today.
No problem. I'm happy to be here.
Coach Bassler led Westminster to an 8-win season, and he's 41-11 in his 5 seasons as coach. The Owls won the Carroll County Athletic League title for a 4th time in 5 seasons. Coach, you had talent all over the field this fall. What brought it all together and made it work for the Owls?
You know, we were really a young team coming in this year. You know, we only had 4 returning starters, but we had a really good group of, I would say impactful seniors led by Kyrie Walker and Clayton Dorsey and Jalen Jones and Jackson Clark and some of those guys. And that, I think, really helped us kind of pick up where we left off last year and, really get on a good roll there for most of the season.
Week 1, you're at home, you get Franklin. It's a really good game against 2 good opponents, and they went to the state quarterfinals this season. What was it like coming back in that game, getting the win against them, and setting the tone for 2023? How important was that for you guys?
I mean, I think it was huge. It like you said, we got down early, and then we're able to come back. And when you come back against a team like that, it's not a fluke.
Right.
And I think it really showed our guys what we were capable when we played our best football. I really think that second half of that game was maybe the best half we played all year.
Yeah. And then you get to the regular season finale, a huge atmosphere, Winners Mill undefeated, a true county championship game. What was that like when you get to play you play your rival in the last week of the season, and B, play for the county title in front of the packed house?
I mean, I think it was great. I think it was great for the county. I think it was great for our town, for our 2 programs. Coach Miller and I are good friends and have a lot of mutual respect. And, to be able to play it out like that on the field with that much on the line, I mean, that's why you get into sports. It's you want to play in big games, and for our kids to have that and, for us to come out on top, I know was special for us.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. Congrats again on another great season and another county title. Now it's time to take a look at the finalists for the CMSportsNet Football Player of the Year. Carroll County had plenty of standout football players this season, and you can see some on the screen. We have some good ones to pick from on both sides of the ball, and we're going to go through them alphabetically for you right now. Starting with Winners Mill senior Caleb Crouch. The quarterback linebacker was accountable for more than 1,000 yards rushing and passing, and he scored 11 touchdowns. Crouch anchored the middle of the Falcons' defense as well before going down with a knee injury in Week 8, but he certainly led Winners Mill to a lot of success this year. Manchester Valley senior James Herndon is up next. The Falcons receiver / defensive back led the county with 40 catches, and he scored 9 touchdowns. Herndon had 588 receiving yards, that was second most in Carroll County, and added a county best 7 interceptions on defense. Next, we have Winners Mill senior Paris Lee. At running back, he went for 680 yards and 7 touchdowns. And at linebacker, he collected 64.5 tackles. That was second best on Winners Mill, and 5.5 sacks with 13 tackles for loss. Good season by Paris Lee. Next up, Westminster senior Kyrie Walker. The Owls quarterback ran for 1,141 yards and threw for 1,277 yards. He rushed for 16 touchdowns. That was the most in the county, and threw for 16 more. Walker accounted for 5 TDs in Westminster's win over South Carroll. Finally, we have Liberty junior Tristan West. The tight end receiver quickly became a huge weapon in the Lions' passing attack. West led the county with 815 receiving yards, and he also scored 8 touchdowns. He had the game-winning score to help Liberty beat Manchester Valley. Coach, a lot of good players in this county. Those are just some of the best. Let's talk about each one of those briefly. Caleb Crouch, we'll start with him in the same list. What would you say about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at him, you can start with how they were after he got hurt. Because he clearly was the engine that made them go in a lot of ways. And, was just a tough kid, and reminded me a lot of Jaron Rutter from FSK from a couple years ago. Just a hard-nosed kid that was just a good football player.
Same style of play.
Absolutely.
Yeah. James Herndon at Man Valley.
He was kind of just a big play waiting to happen. When you watch them on film, he was the one guy that consistently jumped out, and it did it in a lot of different ways. They threw a lot of screens and short passes, and to be able to be shifty and elusive like that, and also to be able to be a big downplay threat guy made him pretty special, I think.
2 ways on him as well. Another guy did that, Paris Lee.
Yeah, Paris is a tough football player.
Yeah.
He ran the ball hard, and it took that same mentality to playing linebacker, and was one of those guys that we had to key in on both sides of the ball when we played him.
Kyrie, you know him very well, Kyrie Walker.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure now of coaching Kyrie for 4 years, and when you look at the body of work he has, he's lost 2 regular season football games as a starting quarterback, and back-to-back years of going over 1,000 yards, which has only ever been done one other time in the history of our county.
Yeah, as far as we know, yeah.
And, he's just a special kid. And, I think I said this to you earlier. I think if anybody in the county was looking at our football players and was going to draft a guy, it's Kyrie's. He's just that dynamic, that special, and we're going to miss him dearly.
Yeah. So. Liberty, Tristan West, what kind of year he had?
It's his I think burst onto the stage when he made that catch at the end against Man Valley, and we actually played on a Friday because we were playing South Carroll, and you guys were doing the coverage. We were covering all the games, so I got to watch that one live, and immediately put me into a little bit of a panic thinking we were going to have to cover
him. You had him down the road anyway.
He's just a special talent. You get a guy that big, that strong, and that fast, and plays as hard as he does. I'm sure Coach Luth is thrilled he's a junior. I think the rest of us are not so thrilled that he's a junior,
right.
But he's a very good football player.
Yeah, they all were. Like we said, Westminster had its share of success this fall, and one game stood out. They wanted to recap one more time. Week 9, Winners Mill at Westminster for the county championship. Let's take a look. The Carroll County Athletic League Championship was on the line when Winters Mill invaded Ruby Field to take on Westminster in a Week 9 football showdown on Friday, October 27th. A win by the Owls would give them a 4th county title in 5 seasons. A victory by the Falcons equals the program's first ever county championship. These rivals know the stakes, so facing a 4th and short inside their own 30 doesn't deter the Falcons from going for it and getting the first down on this Tyler Carroll run. Westminster had success on its first drive, led by junior Raekwon Warfield. He takes off on a 42-yard scamper that puts the Owls in the red zone. And Warfield caps the drive with a 1-yard touchdown plunge. The point after makes it 7-0 Owls. Now Westminster has a 4th down play, and the Owls make the most of it. Tyrese Walker fakes the handoff and keeps it up the middle for a 42-yard touchdown sprint. Josh Wagner's PAT makes it 14-0 Westminster. Winters Mill misses a field goal and Westminster takes over. But a few plays later, the Owls botch the snap and Walker is tackled in the end zone for a Falcon safety. Big Mill on the board at 14-2, and that's the halftime score from Ruby Field. Warfield leads the Owls on their first drive of the 3rd quarter, and they benefit from a face mask penalty to get into the red zone. Walker then finds fullback Casey Heisig on play action for a 12-yard touchdown, and Westminster extends the lead to 21-2. The Owls keep rolling and open the 4th quarter with a splash. Walker to Isaiah Sprinkle for an 85-yard bomb as Sprinkle stays on his feet and races into the end zone. The PAT misses, but Westminster leads Winners Mill 27-2. The home team is salting this one away. After an interception by Rakim Warfield, the offense is back to work. And it's another touchdown for Raekwon Warfield. This one goes for 7 yards, and the Owls lead the Falcons 34-2 midway through the 4th. Winners Mill isn't quitting, and Austin Nuts finishes with a touchdown pass when he finds Tyler Carroll for 5 yards inside the pylon. The Falcons convert the 2-point play, but the Owls are already starting to celebrate. The final score from Ruby Field is Westminster 34, Winners Mill 10. The 8-1 Owls win the county title behind 139 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns from Raekwon Warfield. Westminster awaits a playoff opponent in Class 3A West. Paris Lee runs for 87 yards to lead the Falcons, but they suffer their first loss and are 8-1, 5-1 in county play. Winners Mill will be the top seed in the Class 2A 1A West region. Hey, Beverly, on 1, 2, 3, Beverly! Coach Bassler, your first impressions from winning that game were what? Take me back to Week 9.
I think we talked all year about trying to put a complete game together, and we've played good halves and good quarters, and I think if you look at our season, that was by far our best game, from start to finish. I think that showed what we were capable of against a good football team, and unfortunately we turned around the next week and I think played our worst game of the year. But no, we knew it was a big game, and we've been fortunate to play in a lot of big games, and we're just glad to come out on top.
Yeah, well, like I said, congrats on a great season, and I'm sure Westminster will be a county title contender again in 2024. Want more local sports coverage? Be sure to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel.